Here we go.
Everybody's talking about age and the president, missiles and communists. Paying toll, getting old, losing hair, losing weight, feeling fat, feeling great. Just drifting away. Traffic suck, I'm at luck, tire fire, seconds flat, call a cab, driving fast, just can't get away. I'm not part of the rat race.
And I was digging through my garage, and you know when you move as much as I do, sometimes you just don't bother unboxing certain things. You know, it's like my mental thoughts were like, you know what? I'll just leave this stuff in the box, and eventually, if I feel like I need it, then I'll unbox it. But I opened that up, and that's not all my CDs, but you know, it kind of made me think back to like the late '80s, and I can let me make that bigger for you. Like, look at some of those titles, right? You got like Motley Crue, the John Corabi album. You got Steelheart, both those albums. Kicks. Oh my God, I was a huge Kicks fan. Dream Theater, Kingdom Come. You know, these are all CDs that some of these CDs, guys, are 30 years old. I bought them when they were released back in like the early 90s, late 80s. Danger Danger, Brittany Fox, Babylon AD. Oh my God! If Dave Vanderhoff was here, he'd be freaking having a good time right now. I'll just say that. Cinderella, Still Climbing. That album is good. Candlebox. So this is the reason I show you this is because this is kind of like the bridge between late 80s and early 90s, because I have a little bit of the early 90s stuff like Candlebox and. You know, and I have Nirvana and I have Soundgarden and all that stuff, but I'm just a music lover. But I think one thing that you don't hear people say that often, they often say that there was just an abrupt change from glam metal to grunge, right? Lillian Axe, Taffer. Lillian Axe, one of my favorite bands. Oh my God, I love those Lillian Axe albums. Taiketo is another CD that I have. Salty Dog, I think, put out one album, and it is phenomenal. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there's this misconception that it was more like 80s high hair glam metal, and then the next day it was flannel wearing grunge. No, it was not like that at all. Here, I was there. Yeah, there was a big change, and it was highly noticeable. I've talked about this in the past. When I first heard Nirvana, I was like, wow, this is awesome. It's too bad it'll never catch on. And, you know, because that's what, but it did catch on, and Nirvana became huge just because there was a certain landscape. But the point I'm trying to make here is that even glam metal was getting darker and edgier and heavier by the time we went to grunge, right? There was kind of a transition, a soft transition into grunge. Even like hair metal bands in the late 80s, they were getting edgier. Like Motley Crue was getting edgier. Skid Row is like the ultimate example, because if you listen to Slave to the Grind, that album is not glam metal at all. And it debuted at #1. So that a lot of these albums were on the heavier side of things by the time you got to 1990, 1991. Rat put out Detonator, and Detonator is borderline 90s rock, you know?
What's up, guys? You are at the middle of the video. Don't go anywhere. There's still plenty of content ahead of you, but just wanted to break right here to say you are at Drumdums Xtra, my second channel. If you like my main channel, and you're not subscribed, I would urge you to subscribe to this channel, okay? Because this is where I do a lot of my horror updates and whatnot. I've moved all that stuff over to here, and it's more of a live stream type feel. I am working really hard on this channel, just as hard as I am on the other channel. You'll see at least 3 or 4 videos a week. And most of it's like horror news, topical type stuff, got some rankings on there and whatnot. The main channel's still the main channel, but this is more for this type of content. So anyway, guys, back to the video. And subscribe, damn it.
Warrant, Dog Eat Dog. Thank you, Taffer. Yeah, a really heavy albums. So when you could listen to Warrant Dog Eat Dog and follow it up with, say, like Soundgarden, and it wouldn't be so far removed. Yeah, you'd tell the difference, but it wasn't like Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich compared to like Soundgarden, right? I think there was a transition there. I think we were getting heavier as time went on. GNR is another example too. GNR wasn't going anywhere. They imploded as a band, but people were still listening to GNR. I mean, those Use Your Illusion albums came out right as Nirvana was coming out, and they were just as successful. So, yeah. So, just a point that I'm trying to make, it wasn't so abrupt like people think it is. I think the music was kind of similar. You know, it all had kind of a harder edge at that time. And so I think it's a shame that the record companies didn't let both kind of coexist, because let's just say Nirvana never happened, right? Let's just say grunge never happened. I think we were getting harder because of bands like Megadeth. Because what was happening was Megadeth and Metallica were going from insanely heavy to more mainstream. And then your normal glam metal bands and newer bands were getting heavier. And so they kind of met in the middle. So if grunge never existed and never happened, I think we would have found a happy medium and we would have stayed pretty heavy and pretty edgy. And it's a shame because there's a lot of great music, like Slaughter's second album. I can't remember that. They had the song "Reach for the Sky," but that was getting like heavier. You know, music was getting heavier, but for some reason, these record executives thought, even though these bands are learning and they're getting heavier, and we could still make some nice money off of them. The Wildlife, thank you, Taffer. Taffer knows his shit. Let's go ahead and just wipe them from existence, which I think was bullshit at the time, you know? But there were a few bands that did make it through, that were still untouched, like Metallica, like Guns N' Roses, like Aerosmith, you know? And I've talked about bands that made it through before, but this is something I kind of wanted to highlight. And these CDs I cherish. And some of these CDs go for a pretty penny these days. Like, look up Salty Dog and see how much that CD sells for. I don't have, like, Shotgun Messiah, which, oh my God, Shotgun Messiah was unlike anything you heard back then, right? Taffer knows what I'm talking about. Hold on. And I've had this on display in my backdrop for like the past 5 years. This Shotgun Messiah album here. Yeah. Let me go back to main scene. This band right here, for the time they came out, they don't get enough credit. Because even their first album, which came out in like 88, 89, it sounded like unlike anything ever. It had a colorful sound to it. But then they come out with this album in 91 or 90, something like that. And this album is just as edgy as any kind of grunge music you could possibly imagine, you know? And it had a lot of really great songs on here too. And then their third album was more like freaking electric, what do you call it? Like industrial, right? So Shotgun Messiah had 3 completely different sounding albums, you know? And then they just, you know, Tim Skold went on to do his own thing, and I still follow him to this day. You've heard me talk about Tim Skold in the past. But yeah, I miss that music, if I'm being honest. You know, bands like Salty Dog and Taiketo and Lynch Mob. You know, there was just a certain flavor that wasn't there like 5 years before, right? And some really great music was coming out at that time. Child's Play. There was a band called Child's Play that put out one album, and it was phenomenal. Phenomenal stuff. Do I dare? You know what? They had a song called Rat Race. Let me play you a little bit of this. Hold on. There you go, though, right, guys?